Okay, part six, where we left off. Basically, we just finished up um, the first stage and the CDC process, this change data capture process. So we're going to step over next to CDC sequential. So basically, this is the one that you're going to use the rest of the time. And if this package is set up correctly, you really won't have to mess with this hardly ever again. So um, you'll do a lot if you get into ETL work. It's my impression that you will do a lot of work in the beginning when you're actually installing and setting up your database in the first place. Um, but for the most part, once you get it up and running, you're not going to spend that much more time on it. Because I mean, it should maintain itself for the most part. Um, Again, I like to go ahead and include this section first, which is the first sequence container, which is where we go out, we grab the data. We go out, we truncate the staging table, the very first staging table, which is our NASDAQ stocks initial. We push that data off from the flat file then to clean the column and send it to uh, the staging table. So we truncated the staging table, then we put the data in the staging table. And then we go from the staging table to the NASDAQ stocks table. I'm curious if I actually did this in the initial one. So this is the initial. And this is subsequent. Okay, I think I might have skipped over telling you about that. But as you recall, you might recall, you might not. Um, when I was trying to change my data in this control flow, uh, where are we in the subsequent one? When I was trying to take my data from the staging table to the OLTP table, I wanted it to be clean. I wanted it to be the right data type, and I was having a hard time going into the. I was having a hard time going into the source and actually getting it to transfer properly. So where this arrow is, you could have a transformation step here, and that transformation step kept throwing an error. So rather than fooling around with that anymore, I knew that it would work with T-SQL, so I just did, instead of a table or view, I did a SQL command, and it worked beautifully. Uh, so then you just bring your data back to this table. Same process as before. Stock name to stock name, stock price to stock price, stock date time to stock date time. The destination is the OLTP table. So the stock ID, that's automatically generated because that's your primary key. That's an identity column. So that's automatically going to increment by one. This load date time, if you recall, was a default value of the current date using, I think, get now, I want to say, or get date, whatever. Forget the syntax sometimes. And then the sys date, the sys start and sys end, that was for the temporal only. So those are going to be automatically generated as well. So you really just need to bring the three columns over. The rest is going to automatically populate. So that's going to happen every single time. Now, once this occurs, then it pushes you over here to this big sequence container, which is pretty big. It's got a handful of steps in it. So now we're going to do the, what does it say, initial process? Huh. Okay. I think I was doing this right before the whole time. Sequence container. All right. So this is our subsequent process. Um, Now we want to get, so before we did the mark initial start, now we are getting the process range. This is the same CDC state, same connection. We're using this as our storing table, and this is our storing name. God, you can tell I'm boring myself to death over here, but I, for the life of me, have not found a tutorial that walks you through the entire process. Probably for this reason, it gets really dry and really boring. So um, hopefully, hopefully you appreciate the fact that I'm doing this. Um, so it goes from get the range to the incremental CDC splitter. So what happens? You have your CDC source. Uh, so when you come down here to your other sources, it's a CDC source. Oops. Yeah, it's null right now. Okay, well, hopefully I don't mess it up just by showing you guys this, but um, well, basically you would select the CDC source, which is the DBO, in this case DBO.NASDAQ table. Then we go to the splitter. You don't have to do anything here either. When you go from the splitter, you basically would pull the arrow out to you would want to have you want to create 3 ADO.NET destinations. So when you create the destination, you would drag this over this arrow here. Let's watch. So you drag this destination. You know what? Let's delete that one. And let's delete this one. So there's going to be 3 that it can be. It can either be insert, update, or delete. When you have choices for it, it gives you this little output. So this is going to be our insert output. Okay. So now you see 2 out of the 3 have already been selected. So when there's only the third one left, there's nothing for it to select. So it's just automatic.